You serious?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sticky Paws Studios. You probably were brought here by the amazing teaser reel that I cut up earlier, but tonight we have a live debate that will change the world, possibly forever. Check out the teaser that I made, and then I will introduce the show.
I'm not the victim.
He is considered a high-value man.
I was the one who was cheated on.
Turn off your emotion, ladies.
I was the one that was abused.
And I said, I'm going to stop you right there. You expect him to be monogamous?
But until you say, okay, no more.
You're lying to yourself. Men of high-value status always have options. They don't cheat, they have options.
No one is trying to diminish what you went through.
I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm not good enough.
You don't need to do anything.
Guys, you'll get this. If a woman cheats on a boyfriend or husband and sleeps with another man, that's 10 times worse.
And you're in control of making your life better.
Because women don't cheat for sex or dick. They cheat based on an emotional connection. Modern day woman currently is very masculine.
And we are live. Tonight, I want to first start off by just saying thank you to everybody who's watching across all platforms. We're going live to Davrick's page. We're going live to Fearless as Fuck the podcast, Christina's page. The way that I wanted to introduce this first, though, was I just want people to know a little bit about, each other, right? So I'm the moderator. I'm the producer of Fearless as Fuck. So we're like pretty close, me and you, Christina.
Yeah,
and
we're homies.
This idea was brought up by John Orlando, and we were like, hey, let's run with it. You've been recording here lately out of this studio. So shout out again to Sticky Paws Studios. But I'm going to start off by having Christina explain what Fearless as Fuck the podcast is and who you are.
Well, I am Christina Lauren. I run a podcast here called Fearless as Fuck the podcast. It originally started as a project for myself, which I eventually and randomly ran into some producers from Sticky Paws, and they encouraged me to actually run with the podcast. And the original purpose of it was to take painful situations from guests and kind of articulate their powerful stories, how they've harnessed what they've gone through and taken their pain and turned it into purpose. And now we bring people on to talk about their traumas, their trials and tribulations through life, and talk about where they're at now. So it's an empowerment podcast.
Absolutely. To the fullest form. And we also have Amber behind the decks tonight. She's engineering her first ever live stream, but she's also a big part in what we do with Fearless as Fuck the podcast. But it really is just like having conversations with people that have had interesting stories and finding ways to find empowerment in it. I've also been the producer of your podcast when it was here, yep. Impactpreneurs, Davrick. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself and some of the content you've been coming out with lately.
All right. Well, my show is Black Ice Reality Check. And really what it's about is about the last 12 years, I've mentored a lot of men on relationships and coached them. I've been around a while. Won't say my age, but in the last 2 years, I've been focused on women directly. And so my goal is to come together and I say give them a reality check, not in a negative context, but just to let them know where they're at in life and what to expect out of a relationship. And so I counsel women, I counsel men, and it's been an ongoing thing. So right now, this podcast has taken off and it's been my passion.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you starting off with that. We are going to go to a quick commercial break, our first commercial break of the night. And then once we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start with the questioning that you have been waiting for.
Your podcast sucks. Sorry, I had to. Sitting on the couch with one camera and no microphones is not a good look. Trust me. That's why at Sticky Paws Studios, we made it simple as coming in and sitting down and working your magic. And we handle all the tech. Visit our website or DM us on Instagram at Sticky Paws Studios. We'll talk soon.
So I said we're going to start with the juicy questions. I'm going to hop straight into it. We're not bullshitting today, ladies and gentlemen. Although these two people in the teaser seem like they're really at each other's throats, it's a friendly environment. Things were kind in the lobby. But now with the questioning, I hope we can remain that type of calmness throughout this, yes?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
listen, I blame John Orlando for that
I do too.
It's John's fault.
I do too.
heightened reel.
It is John's fault.
That made me nervous seeing that reel, actually.
Yeah, no. It was the type of theme that we're trying to go for tonight. And so the first question that I want to start with, Davrick, this is in relation to you. How do you feel about households where women out-earn the men?
That's a good question. What I've seen statistically right now is that anytime that there's a situation where women by nature date and marry in a hypergamy situation, which means they date up, right? Either by a socio or economic level, right? So anytime that there's a household where the woman out-earns the men, 90% of the divorces that happen in that situation is because they out-earn the man. I think by nature, women date up and they like that. And so what I've seen in several situations is anytime there's a situation where a woman's making 100K and the guy's making 40K, there's a challenge just by nature. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If that's the way you want to live your life, I'm not against it. But I see challenges with it, and I've seen the outcome be a divorce.
Okay. And the way that I'm going to phrase this to you, Christina, is let's say you're kicking ass. You're the breadwinner of the house. How do you think that makes your man feel? And how do you feel about women out-earning men in the house?
I feel like you see a lot more of it now, for sure. I can say I've been in both situations. I've also never been married. I've also never been in a situation where it's going to be that long term. I have been engaged. In that particular situation, I did not make more than my fiance. But I could see, and just from experience of hearing from other people's relationships, that there have been times where a man has felt emasculated by a woman who is making more than them. And I can definitely see that leading to problems. I mean, it's hard to see a woman making more than you when, as a man, your ideal present, like your ideal, what's the word I'm trying to go for right now? You want to be the provider, the protector, the leader, the person that's supposed to be bringing home that to your household. And if you feel any way emasculated by your woman, I could see that maybe being a little bit of a bruise to an ego in some way, shape, or form. And if those things are not communicated and talked about and you guys are on the same page, I could definitely see it lead to issues. I personally have never experienced those issues before, so I can't really speak on that in a personal level, but I can definitely see it being an issue.
Yeah, no. So you guys both see this as an issue. And now, Davrick, have you ever been put in this situation?
No.
Okay.
Most of the time, I mean, and I'm not directing this towards her, but most of the time, women will date up, right? If I ask them what the outcome they want, are you looking to be married? You're looking to have family, children? What kind of house do you want to live in? What's your lifestyle going to be like in the next 2 to 5 years? That all requires money. And how much do you want to contribute to the household bills, right? Is it 20/80? Is it... Do you want to be a full-time stay-at-home mom? What's the situation? And when it comes down to brass tacks, it becomes a high number. And so they look for the top 10% men, high-value men, income-wise, not necessarily lifestyle or network. And so I talked to a lot of women, and they're like, I said, would you marry an average man that makes $47,000 a year? And most of the time, they want a six-figure income earner.
Right.
Okay. And now we know nowadays in the A market, 6 figures, 100K is nothing. A 250 is the new 100K. But to make that, you're usually dealing with a guy that's very successful in his craft and trade. He's a perfectionist at what he does. He works long hours, and he wants a certain lifestyle. And those top 10% of men, 90% of the women are going after that guy, right? So here we go. He's got options, and now you're like, I want this person. Okay, what value you bringing to the table? But at the end of the day, like Christina said, it sounds like, if I'm not mistaken, she's always dated up. Is that fair?
Yeah, and the reason I would do that is because I want to be with somebody who's at least bringing in equal to what I'm doing or more. If I have somebody below me and I'm trying to drag them along, how am I going to survive? And how am I'm eventually going to hold some kind of resentment there.
Exactly.
And I think that's just the way it's going to be.
So my question, again,
Go ahead.
I'm never attacking you as an individual. Like
I don't think you are.
Like I tell people, they said, this podcast, I got, it's John's fault. But look, and I'll say this on my side, right? If I talk about Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson or Patrick David or Roland Tomasi, some of the people that I follow, I don't agree with 100% of everything they say. Even my friend Sean outside said he agrees with about 90% of what I say. I'm the same way. I don't dislike her content. I don't dislike what she does. I'm glad she has a voice. That's what we're here for. But I might be on a different page. But my question is how much money would a man need to make for you to marry? What's that number? What kind of lifestyle would you want? Are you looking to get married? Are you looking to just be in a common law relationship?
Are you asking me directly?
Yeah.
So this has changed over time. And I can strictly say I've never had a number that I've needed a man to make. And I have friends who have. They're like, my future husband needs to make X amount of dollars or I'm not even dating them. I've never been that person because to me, I'm really into connection. And sometimes I have met people or even dated people and been with people that the amount of money they earned was not a factor in my attraction to them. However, they weren't a bum.
Right.
They definitely weren't a bum.
Okay.
And they had something to offer that was not just money.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. How do you want to live in the next 2 to 5 years? Do you want to be married one day?
I do.
Okay, so what kind of lifestyle do you want? You want a big house? What market do you want to live in? You want to live in Vegas?
I don't know. It's up for discussion, honestly, because I don't even know if I want to live in Vegas. So it's not like I need to live here. I need this amount of money. I want to stay at home.
But that's all. The outcome is determined on how you want to live, right? Do you want children?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Okay. So,
and that's changed over time too. I think that also has changed over time with my partners because I did want children. And then I went through a very interesting relationship that changed my entire view about how I saw relationships in good ways and in bad ways. And that executed some growth. But now it's put me in a position where I'm like, you know what? I'm not really sure because I almost wanted to give children to somebody who didn't deserve it.
Sure.
Because of other circumstances.
Sure.
But it's made me think a lot differently. And then it put me into an operative state where I'm operating as a very individual woman and trying to figure out where I wanted to be alone. And then from there, we move on to being in a new relationship. But I didn't have the answers for those questions because I wasn't sure.
Right. And I will hop in here because that was one of my questions. I want each one of you guys to describe your ideal partner. That was one of my questions. Like, what is your ideal partner look like? What do they make? What is your ideal partner, Davin?
So for me, and this is a question I ask a lot of women that I counsel, and with no disrespect to her, a lot of women don't really know what men want. They think they know what they want. I have a degree. I have this and that. Guys don't care about your degree. They don't care about your money. What we care about is young, fit, feminine, attractive, cooperative, easy to get along with, submissive to the man's cause as a leader. Not, I'm going to obey everything you say, right? For me, I found that in my partner who's out in the lobby.
Oh, I think we can show the studio audience right now. We got a studio audience. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you can also leave your questions in the chat. Shout out to the studio audience. Leave your questions in the chat. We will be reading them throughout the night. But anyways, back to you, Doug.
So for me, what I was looking for was I say this with grace, okay? Hear my heart, not my words. I'm not looking for a partnership. I'm looking for a relationship. I already have my money. I already have my success. I've already established myself. I don't need a woman's money. I need somebody that's going to be there to support me as a man and fulfill her duties in the relationship, right? She was raised, my girlfriend, 3.5 years lived together. She was raised to be a good wife, not a boss bee. I don't need that, right? And so for me, she fills that void, right? I pay all the bills. Some people say, oh, you're a simp. It's like, wait a minute. We live together like we're married. We just don't have the contract for various reasons, right? So she takes care of the house. She helps out with my older kids, right? She's, if you will, the CEO of the house, but I run the family. And so she is that perfect person. Like I said, young, fit, feminine, attractive, able to follow my lead. But again, I think a key relationship, the key factor of success in a relationship, this is not a partnership. It's a relationship. This isn't a business, right? And now if a woman says, well, I don't need to be with a man like that, top 10% high value men are going to be like that. And they have those options to pick and choose what they want. And so I found this person. She's a lot younger than me, right?
Right.
I met her when she was 26, but I had choices because I put myself in that position. So she is that perfect individual that I was looking for.
Right. And now that whole, you had said something there, submissive to a cause, being able to follow the lead in a relationship. I do want to get what your ideal man is, but how do you feel like who should be the leader in the household, Christina?
There's a few things I'm trying not to. One thing you said, I wanted to ask you a question. So do you think someone can't be a boss bee and a wife?
I think they can, but it's the mindset and attitude. And like I said, Are you going to give up your family for your career? Is that more important?
Right. Well, that's on a serious note that women have to take in that.
Right. So you can have that. It's the masculine energy, right? So women says, well, I got this, that. A lot of women, when they describe themselves as a man. That's not what men want. They want a feminine woman. That doesn't mean that you're lesser. It's harder to be a woman of strength. It's easy to be a strong woman. You could say, hey, I'm a strong woman. That's not even admirable. Be a woman of strength. Only 5% of women can probably be a woman of strength, because it's harder to be a woman of strength and do what you need to do. It's hard to take care of the house. It's hard to be a full-time mom. Now, if you want to contribute 20% of the household, you want to have a job, there's nothing wrong with that. I gave her the option to not have to work. Now, not a lot of average guys can do that. I understand that. But if I give her the option and she says, hey, I want to go do hair. She was a color specialist in Arizona, probably one of the best, just like you're good at what you do. And I respect that. But she has the option not to, right? Because I don't need the money. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Right. And that has to go hand in hand with the dynamic in the specific relationships, because that doesn't work for everybody, like you're saying. But your question, as far as like who should be the head of the household, I really think it should be the woman. The woman takes care of the home. The man brings home the money. That's like traditional. But if you guys are not equal and you're in a relationship where, like, let's say the money isn't there, like, and you guys are more 50-50, how does that go about those traditional roles when you want the woman to do all of those things, but then she's also having to go bust her ass working like a job or two and things like that? Like, where does that dynamic shift?
And I'm talking more of my situation, right? So the breadwinner. So it's how much you contribute to the household. Like if we were in a relationship and you said, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and I want to, contribute to the house. Hey, Christina, you can go do what you want. That's fine. I don't need your money to cover the bills. I got it. Right. So if it's 50-50, yeah, you're going to have to help out. But what you just said earlier, you date up. And if you're dating up at a higher social economic level, that man's making a lot more money, right? So there is a trade-off, right? How much are you contributing to the household?
There always is a trade-off.
Right.
It just really depends.
So every relationship's different.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about, when I say, would you marry a plumber that made $50,000-$60K a year if you were in love with him? And a lot of women say no, because it's the economic level. It's the income. They can't afford to live the lifestyle that they have. You live a great lifestyle, right? But to maintain that lifestyle with a partner, now you got two mouths to feed, and maybe or maybe not kids. You want a nice house. Look at the interest rates. You're going to spend $4,000 a month on a mortgage payment, and then you're going to have car payments. It requires money, and to do that, you're going to have to date at your level and above, like you said. So for me to answer that question, an average relationship 50-50, if that's a relationship you want, great. So be it. There's nothing wrong with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but for me, if I say, what value do you bring to the table? I'm independent. I make my own money. I got a PhD. I'm a boss. That does not give me value from you. There's no value in that whatsoever, because that's not a value that you bring to the table. And the women, for some reason, over time, think their money and their degree is value to a man, and it's not.
There's so much more than that, though.
You're right.
And it's integrity, it's core values, and that goes for a man as well. Like, you might be able to tell me that you make X amount of dollars a year, but are you loyal? Are you faithful? Like, do you know how to handle me? Like, in my weakest moments, are you going to have empathy? Things like that. There's just so much more than money. And I think what women get frustrated with when they hear things like this is they hear the way it's delivered and they think, wow, these men think just because they make so much money that I'll just bow down to them. And that's not it either. Like you were saying earlier, like, you can submit to a man as a woman and be feminine. That doesn't mean that you're just bowing down and giving it all up, but you will submit to a man who is that leader, protector, provider.
You're right.
But that's a healthy man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That takes a healthy man to get a woman to be able to do that in the right way. And I think that's where my issue is with confusion, because you get the unhealed, maybe younger demographic of men or boys catching some of these kinds of videos and being like, oh my God, we're just going to run with this. Like, yeah, fuck women and fuck these ideas. And then it just leads down a more toxic route where they're not really understanding the healing that they need to do to become that healthy leader.
Right.
You know what I mean?
See, 18 men bring zero value to the table. They know that. Us men know that at 18 years old.
Well, let's
There's
just
very little,
say
yeah.
maybe not 18. Maybe that's too young to talk about. But like, let's say in their growing phases where they're growing into their manlyhood, they're finding out what they want to do for a living. They're really understanding who they are, and they're not stuck in their vices anymore. And they're actually wanting to like step into their truth and their power. It's in those moments that they're really impressionable and vulnerable too. So I feel like there's a little bit more healing that some men need to do to truly understand what it takes to be a masculine man in all fronts, not just like, oh, I make a lot of money and so I just should be able to do whatever I want. You know what I mean?
Sure. And that's why, for example, women control access to sex. You control access to that. It's your choice, right? Men control access to marriage. We propose, right? Just like you control access to childbirth, right? You control that. That's your right. Women have more rights than men. Believe it or not, right? Because we can't tell you not to have a child, right? So you have a lot of power as a woman. But when you're choosing that person, you know what to look for. You have a plan. I would hope you have a plan written down. And men keep peaking. The older they get, the more value goes up. As a man, men are based on success objects. Women are based on looks, sex objects. That's how it is, whether you like it or not. But as a man gets older, if you're talking like a 25, 28, 30-year-old man, they still don't have their stuff together. They're still growing.
I think that's hard for women to hear that they're entirely based off sex objects because there's so much more to a woman than their looks and their ability to have babies.
I agree. But for a man, the first thing men do is look. That's why like you'll see high value men and women's sexual marketplace value is between 23 and 26 years old, because men look at women as a sex object. It is what it is. Look, most people sit here and come on and beta guys or average men and say, oh, I'm going to tell you the Steve Harvey story. I'm going to tell you the truth at what men look like, what we look at a woman as. See, this is where you're right. It's hard for women to digest this, but it's the reality. It's the truth. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to be nice and tell you what you want to hear, I'm going to tell you what we're seeing and what we look and value women as. So, you know, as a woman, like, well, I'm in my late 30s, early 40s. Why can't I find? Because in your early 20s, you were out partying so much, you thought you could just pick a man off, and those high value men you want are dating women in their mid 30s.
I'm in my late 30s.
Right.
Or mid 30s, and I don't really have a problem with that.
But you're not married.
No, I was almost married.
Okay. My point is, as you get older, your value drops as a woman because women's value is based off of looks. Men's is based off of success. And that's why you see high value men, and most of the time married between ages of 23 and 26, 27 years old. That's when you were your best looking as a woman. Your value drops. Unfortunately, it's a fact. I'm not insulting you. I'm just telling you the truth.
No, I understand.
Right?
I understand statistics.
Right,
I understand some of these things, and they're definitely up for people can have their opinions about whether they agree or disagree. Facts are facts, and statistics are statistics. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes women, at least this is what I hear, and what people tell me is they're like, hearing those kinds of things is like, so am I supposed to just tell myself that my value has gone down as a human being, as a woman, because I'm 35 now, I'm not married, and now all of a sudden my clock's ticking, so my number on the chart is going down because I'm less desirable. And yes, there's always people who are younger, prettier, more fit coming along, so, 100%. But men, yes, I understand what you're saying about them getting older and increasing in value and things like that. But I also know a lot of men who they might have all those things, but they're a shit husband.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But now you have to compete. You're competing with 90% of the women that want the top 10% men. That's what women think that a lot of women assume that they deserve. I deserve this because I'm in my, not referring to you directly. I'm 30. You're telling me I should just lay down. No, but you have to realize that you're competing.
Oh, 100%.
So what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, these are what the guys want. Fit, feminine, attractive, submissive, cooperative. And you're like, well, I'm not. Well, then, no pun intended, stay home with your box wine and your cat, die alone. Because they have a choice. An average guy doesn't have that choice. But in turn, the woman says, oh, I don't want an average man. I want this, 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 and this. Provider, protector, a successful man. So when we say that, it's like, this is what I'm seeing. This 12 years of what men say, men have accepted. We've already accepted. If I'm short, if I'm 5'5", bald and overweight, I've already accepted that I'm not going to get the woman of my dreams. It's just a fact. Women want 6 foot tall, 6-figure income, and sexy. Everyone wants the same thing. It's all, the same.
I disagree.
Okay, but hear me out. All the focus groups I do with women, all the women I talk to, 90% of the time, it's the same. He needs to make 6 figures. He needs to be 6 feet tall.
Yeah, and I think these women need help completely, and that's why they're there for coaching. You know what I mean?
Right, but now you got 90% of the women all competing for the 10% guy. So what do they want? And if the men all want the same thing, then you got to say, well, what do I got to do to position myself that way? And you can say, well, I don't want to do that. Fine, don't do it.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's your
fair.
choice.
That's fair if that's what they don't want to do. There's some women who is like, I just don't really want to be that way.
Yeah.
I'm okay with living the way I'm at. But if they're looking, I understand what you're saying. Like if you're looking for a husband, if you're looking for someone to have kids with, if you're looking for that relationship, you do have to position yourself in that place. And you're right. You can't just expect, and I've told girls this, you can't just expect to get that guy that you want, naming off all this fucking laundry list of things that you want when you're not working on yourself. Like what have you done for yourself to be that woman for that man?
Right.
There is an equal playing field here. You can't just show up and be like, I'm pretty, I look good. Like, pick me.
I'm glad she said that. I'm glad she said that because, go ahead.
I'm gonna hop in here because I do want to now we've been agreeing a little too much for my liking here because I mean obviously you guys are hitting the right marks, right? But what we're avoiding to talk about here is the toxic traits that can come about on both sides of the relationship, right? Let's say we find the ideal person. However, that ideal person is a high value man, right? And as in the teaser that we cut, you said high value men have options. How would you define cheating in a relationship? And I'm going to ask you the same thing.
Are you coming to me first?
Yeah.
Wow, this is fun.
This is.
Okay, so what I meant by that was like when we talk about cheating's cheating. I don't condone it. Okay, I'm not for it. I was using a comparison analogy. If a woman cheats, and I say this, and this is actually a benefit for women. Very few women go, oh, I need to go get some dick. I'm going to go fuck somebody. Women aren't like that. Women want to build an emotional connection, and I respect that. And also, they want to get to know the guy. Men, what I said when men cheat is not as bad. Hear me out. Hear my heart, not my words. This is where you have to have thick skin and a soft heart. If I'm in love with a woman, and I'm a high value man. Remember, biologically, we were put here on Earth for one reason, to procreate. 7 billion people in the world weren't all built by being monogamous. Okay, they just weren't. Now, I'm not condoning it. What I'm saying is this: if I go out and I'm in love with a woman in a relationship, and all of a sudden here comes, the hottest thing since apple pie, right? Whatever. You can pick an actress. You can pick Kim Kardashian if you think she's hot. I don't care who it is, and she is an opportunity where a man's put in that situation, and he slams it. He hits it. Fucks her, right? Does he not love his woman any less? No. She didn't mean shit to him. It was a desire and a need that was biologically wired into him. If a woman does it, she's built some type of connection with a man. She's been talking to the man over time. It was a work husband. It was that guy friend that was on standby, the orbiter, waiting around. It's 10 times worse because she didn't just go out one day and say, oh, look at this hot, sexy Jason Momoa. He wants to fuck me. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. It's very rare. But guys, you take a 10, which is paid for her looks, famous model, and she's in a room in lingerie, 9 times out of 10, the dude's going to hit the skins. Oh, you don't let me know. He still loves his woman, but he's wired differently. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that's the facts and the reality. And I deal with multi-millionaires, 7, 8, 9-figure men. I'm counseling a famous rapper. I hear the stories. I know what's going on. And so I'm here to share with you the facts and the reality that when you're dealing with high-value men, the chances of monogamy are slim, very slim, because he has all the options he wants because all the women are competing for him. Does that make sense? If you line up 100 guys, 10% of those men are fucking, the other 90 aren't. And women think, oh, all these guys are. No, they're not. They're not even having sex at all. Women have more access to men like never before. Right now with all the social media. And I don't, and
so
hold on.
Okay.
You're an attractive woman. Okay? Fair to say. If you got on the phone right now, you could go have sex right now. Do you know how hard it is for a man? Very difficult. Very difficult. And even a mediocre looking woman, a 4, she can do that. A 3. Guys, unless you have a blue check mark and you're Drake, it's very hard to step out and say, hey, I'm going to get laid tonight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, you took it to the length of like what people would consider cheating, right? Sex. Now, I feel like maybe this might come from a woman's side, where cheating starts way before that. Does it start with objectifying? Does it start with messaging other people, liking Instagram posts, stuff like that? But that was a very good explanation, Daverick. I will say that was spot on. How do you feel?
I feel like, I think there's men that could agree with this too, that cheating doesn't start at sex. Like, I think cheating starts way before sex actually happens sometimes.
Okay.
And what you were saying as far as like I don't want to say it's validation, because I know you did not condone it. And I've never thought you've condoned cheating. Like, I've talked to you before. But when you kind of like give that like reasoning out loud to somebody, I feel like it's really hard, because you're not talking about communicating with your partner that you need to be in an open relationship and this is just what you do and this is what your needs are. Cheating is betrayal. Cheating is going behind someone's back and literally doing something to them that can completely alter their state of reality for the rest of their life on how they see things, how they develop, how they see relationships, turning into masculine women. You know, there's so much that can happen there from betrayal. And on the counterpart too, men getting cheated on, some of my best friends have had that happen to them, and it's scarred them and it's hurt them for a very, very, very long time. So cheating in general hurts.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying about how women cheat from an emotional standpoint. Normally, if they're cheating, it's because something's been going on in their relationship emotionally where they're not fulfilled, and they're starting to resort to finding that void filled with somebody else,
sure,
which is deeper than just something physical.
Yep.
I completely agree with that. But I don't think that it hurts less, because the betrayals that I've had in my life scarred the fuck out of me.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's not so much even the physical act, it's what went into that. You know, so
yeah.
I think that statement flares up a lot of emotions,
sure,
because it's like, well, fuck, is he saying that like, because I'm a woman and my guy cheated on me, just say whatever because it's a physical skin on skin act? It still does damage. And I think that's where there's like a hard.
So would it be fair to say you want a traditional man in a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be fair to say you're a traditional woman?
That I don't know if I can fully say that like 100%. Like, you know how you're saying, like, you can agree with somebody.
Well, I can answer
for the
that.
most part, yes.
Okay, but would a traditional woman have her body half naked on Instagram?
See, that's where I
but hear me out. And he said cheating, liking something. If you're showing your body to men on the daily, okay, and I don't have a problem with what you do,
mm-hmm,
but you're exposing yourself in a sexual way,
right?
You're condoning that.
I think it's based on the partnership. I think your partner would have to really be comfortable with your line of work.
But you want a traditional man. You want a traditional man, but see, this is the problem with a lot of modern day women. They don't want to be a traditional woman.
But I do.
Okay, so if you were with a man, the love of your life, and he was a perfect guy that you created, God broke the mold, if you believe in God or not. I'm not here to preach to you. And that's the guy who says, Christina, you're in love with me. You do anything for me. Yep, I'll do anything for you. You do anything for me. I want you to close your Instagram account. Would you do it?
If I didn't have to rely on Instagram for work, and this was the perfect scenario where I knew this was my husband and this is going to be our life, and he wasn't taking away my passions, which I have to be online for competing, I have to be online for my podcast, I have to be doing things with my physical body for my career.
Sure.
I would not take away what makes me Christina.
But then you're not being traditional.
Like I said, I don't think I'm 100% a traditionalist.
Okay.
There are traditional values that I like in my relationships, but I can't tell you that I'm a traditional person, because to me that's like taking away my essence.
Okay, but why would you take that away from a man? Why should he be traditional to you?
I'm not saying he has to be 100% traditional. I just prefer monogamy in my relationship.
Okay.
As Christina, I think monogamy is sexy, and I like being with one person, and I like that one person being with me sexually.
Since day one, since the dawn of time, men, even like Solomon, had 700 wives, 300 concubines. Men have never been monogamous. We just were forced that way by the social society, right? Biblically, morally, or ethically.
Yeah, I'm not here to say any of those things never happened.
But I'm just saying, if that guy's traditional, he's going to be loyal to you. See, you're not. My point is this: is you're trying to find this guy, or maybe you have that guy, but then you're not willing to give up what it takes to you see, it's not a fair exchange.
I never said I wouldn't be able to give up certain things to meet in the middle for the relationship that I want to be in, that's providing me the container that I would like. If that, like me and my boyfriend currently have had these discussions about certain things because there's certain things that he likes, doesn't like, and same here.
Sure.
But we're going to meet in the middle because there, to me, is no like black and white way to run relationships anymore. There really isn't. There's so many ways, whether it's open, whether it's 80-20, whether it's completely monogamous, where it's polyamorous. Like there's so many ways. So you really have to find what works for you and your partner. That may be combining some traditional ideologies with also some more maybe off the cuff ways of living. And for me, my partner is not intimidated with the way I am on Instagram. It doesn't bother him, but there are lines and there are boundaries that I would never cross, and I would never do that because I know it would upset him. So we have to kind of meet in the middle with certain things. But as far as like traditional roles, as like if this became a marriage, let's just say, and we got into a position where he's like, I don't want you to have to bartend anymore. I don't want you to have to cocktail anymore. If that container was able to provide me with that shelter to know I'm safe, 100%. But I've also been in relationships where I let all of those guards down. I became that person that took care of completely everything at home. Basically the traditional role. I still had a part-time job, but that backfired in my fucking face because I lost all my sense of self, all of who I was. The ways I made money were like, just take a break, Christina, rely on me. And then bad shit happens.
Right.
So you kind of have to take things a little bit slower before you allow somebody to take complete control.
Sure.
You have to just like, you have to ease into it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you can't just be a woman and be like, he's got it. Sure. With like 6 months, 12 months of knowing them. And like, yeah, he makes all this money and he has these cars and he can take care of me. He's not going to let me fall. And just believe it anymore, because unfortunately there are a lot of unhealed people who don't know how to have that feminine woman that they say they want without stomping all over her.
Right, but you choose that too. You choose who you're with.
Oh, 100%.
Right,
I'm just saying you have to be careful when entering in relationships now, because it's not just like you can give it all up, because then you're left with nothing and they're moving on to the next younger, prettier, fitter person because you know what? I'm kind of done with her. And then what are we left with?
Well, first of all, if you're married, you're left with about 70% of assets.
If you're married.
If you're married. And if you're not, and you're in a relationship with me and my girlfriend, I put her in my trust. Because we're married, but we're not, with a contract.
But see, you're giving her a safety, right?
Right,
like you're providing a container for her where she can trust you.
But if you're not married, like you just said, and you're married, then it is about money because it's a contractual agreement with the state. And you're guaranteed money. And so when women say it's not about money, it is about money. It's about security.
Yes.
It is about security. That's my point. So anytime you're out there looking for that perfect fit, it's always about, hey, how secure am I going to be financially?
Well, you have to think about those things.
And that requires a lot of money.
Yeah. And I think that there's like, maybe this is the side where we talk to women about the things to look out for too, because looks aren't going to just be it for you. Just because he has a nice car and the looks doesn't mean that's going to be your perfect fit. I find, and this is the problem and where I'm trying to figure out why this is happening on the men's side at least, is there are men who they get in relationships with women and say they want a monogamous relationship, right? You're the one, I'm monogamous to you. But then they change their mind and they start cheating behind her back.
Okay, can I ask you a question? With these men, are these what type of men are you talking about?
Well, and this is what I'm getting at. Like when you define a true healthy alpha male, these are not them. And what I feel like some people get attached to is like, yeah, I'm an alpha male, and they have no idea what that means. They have no idea how to be that, how to be open, honest with themselves and communicate with their partner what they actually need. Because I'll tell you what, if my partner had told me, Christina, I can't be monogamous, I need multiple partners to be happy, I would have chose not to be with this person.
Yeah, but he was. So
where do the lies come from?
He also wasn't that old of a man. He was a younger man.
True.
Okay.
But do you really think that doesn't happen with older men too? Because I see it happen all the time.
It does, but it also based on the option. I'll say this with clear transparency. And when I say high value man, he's got a network, a circle of influence of individuals that look at him for guidance and advice. He's got a network of individuals that are worth millions of dollars.
He's a leader.
Okay. 95% of those men are going to see other women. You have to accept that or don't. And that's okay. I'm not telling you to accept it. I'm telling you the truth. Most of these guys, why do you think the strip clubs do so good in Vegas? 90% of the men in there are married. 90%. It's not that they don't love their wives, but the reality is they are going to see other women. And you either accept, and I'm not talking about you, Christine. I'm talking about if Drake came in here right now and asked a girl, hey, I want to start dating you. You know, I'm seeing other girls. She wouldn't think twice about it. She wouldn't think twice.
I would.
You would. Right. But 90% of the women be all on Drake like, oh, he's got a girlfriend. It's okay. He's taking me out.
Now, is that really a high quality woman?
It doesn't matter. It's what he wants. But here's my point.
I know. I'm just asking your opinion.
But here's my point. My point is this: is that you need to know the reality. Okay, don't go for the high type 10% men. Don't. That's okay, and it doesn't mean an average guy's bad. But you have to. It's either A or B.
I just think I think it's kind of screwed up to call a guy average who is like maybe not the top 10%.
No. When I say average, he doesn't have the accessibility to those women that high value men do. That's the difference. That's the difference. When I say that, and hear me out, like I told you, 10% of men are actually have access to. They're the only ones out there they're sexually active. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, I've seen the studies. I've watched
So
the videos. Like I know what you're talking about.
So
I just feel like there's a gray area.
There is a gray area, but I'm just telling you what to expect from a reality perspective. Again, when I say I'm not condoning it.
But you're also speaking to a woman too who is not a money chaser. Like I'm not that person that chases after somebody who has all the money. And that doesn't mean that I don't chase after a high value man, because to me, my standards of what makes a man high value are based off things other than money.
Yeah, it is always based off. Yeah.
So yes, like that might be the statistic of what that like top 10% looks like. But just because maybe I'm not going for those kinds of men, I'm not attracted to those kinds of men because of a certain, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not my vibe.
But you still don't know what you want.
I do know what I want in a man. It might not be what they have as their career. I just want someone who's passionate about what they do, who loves what they do, who knows who they are, who's doing the work on themselves, and can come together with me and honor the fact that we both have been through whatever we've been through in our lives, and we're going to help each other become the best versions of ourselves, and is doing just as good as me or better. I don't need them to be somewhere high in the sky with their fucking Lambos and their big houses. Is that great? Sure. But that's like the icing on the fucking cake to me.
Sure.
But this is just me personally.
Well, right,
like, I understand that that's not necessarily like a percentage.
So we need to take a little break on this right now. We're going to shout out Sticky Paws Studios one more time for this live debate, and then we will be back with more questions, including YouTube comment questions. So make sure you comment your questions down below. See you after the commercial break.
Social media in 2021 has never been more important, so you have to stand out from the noise. Podcasting is one of the great wonders to start creating content for your brand. At Sticky Paws Studios, you have a professional studio with audio and video podcasting capabilities to hit every angle of your market. We have in-house editors who are ready to create micro pieces of content from your podcast to post on social media as well. You come in, sit down, and we handle the tech. It's that simple. Visit our website or DM us on Instagram at Sticky Paws Studios. See you soon.
So we've been having a lot of people commenting on YouTube. Shout out to Rollo Tomasi in the Access Vegas crew. We also have Michael Sartain in the chats. I'm going to scroll up here because Rollo has been, describing some of the things. He said at a point, women's potential husbands had an average income that was about 58% higher than the actual unmarried men currently available to unmarried women. I'm trying to find a question. Oh, should marriage be an equal partnership? That's the question we're going to ask. That one from Rollo.
From who?
We'll start with you.
Who is that from?
Rollo Tomasi.
Oh.
I don't think so. And this is just my personal opinion. If I'm going to get married, I feel like I'm entering into something where I want the man to, don't look at me like that.
I want the man to listen to me.
No, I'm just
Look
saying,
how dramatic
I'm trying not to
Can I get a
laugh.
divorce over here? You see her? She looked at me
Derek's
where I want
staring
the
at-
man.
No, I look over and he's staring
Like,
at
dude,
me.
I'm not your dude.
No, I was just trying to articulate, because sometimes when I speak about these things, I've always had a hard time talking to men in the past because it's made me very nervous. So this is a really good. It's just from my history of issues with people I've dated. No, like I never was able to express issues or even topics or conversations like this with someone actually listening. So I have to practice really enunciating because I just want to get my point across. But I personally don't think that they should be 100% equal, but it also depends on the couple, because like you said, there are women who are making more than men now. And if you enter into a relationship, like for instance, I have a friend who she's really huge on social media, does a bazillion things on social media. She makes more than her husband, but they're completely okay with that dynamic and how they run their partnership. He helps her with her career and they just communicatively deal with the income that they make collectively, and they operate like that, but that works for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a matter of personal preference and how you're entering into a marriage.
It's interesting that Roland said that, because there's a couple of things I want to bring up. Kevin Samuels. I love Kevin Samuels when he was around, but one thing that me and Roland agree on, I'm not a big advocate of marriage. And I'm going to address that real quick here. There's a zero net gain for a man in this modern day society to get married. What value does a wife bring to the table other than a girlfriend that if I live with her? It's a zero net gain for a guy. The government's involved in your marriage. We buy houses, we sign contracts like this. We go on, anything we do, it's contract related. You get married, you go and get a marriage certificate. You don't look at the back end ramifications. And for me, to answer your question, I don't believe it's a 50-50 partnership. But again, I'm not a big advocate for modern day marriage. Mm-hmm. I think it's it's a zero net game for a guy. What advantage do I have? And like, to your point, you're like, well, if you're dating and it doesn't work out, what am I left with? And for the guy, well, if I get married and it doesn't work out, what am I left with? And so this big fear of financial losses and gains comes into the picture when you come into marriage. And I believe right now, for me to sign a contract, I've been married before. We left on good terms, 16 and a half years, got 2 beautiful kids from it. We're good friends from a distance. I made that choice, but I also paid the price financially. And so I don't believe in equal 50-50 partnership in a marriage. I just don't agree with it.
Okay. That answers that question pretty much. My next question, as I go on to your YouTube account, I'm going to be checking out everyone who's on Black Ice's YouTube. Leave your questions. I'm going to see those next. My question, though, is to you, Christina. What separates a man whore type person and some guy that you should take seriously? Because based on what we've been hearing here today, that guys at that high level could have a lot of options and do whorish-like things. What separates like a whore from somebody you should take serious?
I think it's honesty. Because I'm not here to condemn anybody for what they do sexually or how many partners they have or how they want to live their sexual life. For me, I personally wouldn't want to go after somebody who's fucking everybody. Like, if I hear that you're just that person that's going around and like, I can't think of one person you haven't slept with, that doesn't make you appealing to me. But I don't think I would condemn somebody for their sexual preferences and like how they're living their intimate life. But I would have to take into consideration like what that looks like to me, because I still like somebody who knows how to control their sexual urges and isn't just fucking around to fuck around.
So like somebody who's like kind of like seen it and like done it, but understands that difference. So body count matters to you.
I don't know, because I wouldn't know. I wouldn't ask someone their body count. I just think that somebody who has control over their sexual urges that like proves a little bit of masculinity. Like
But
same question.
Just the control. I'm not saying be celibate. I'm just saying like
just give a bit. Just don't be celibate.
What's that?
Give a bit. Just don't sell it.
Just don't give it up to everybody. Like, I feel like if you can control your urges to like ejaculate, essentially, that's control over your masculinity a little bit. But we're also adult humans. Like, we're sexual beings. But it's hard because you hear a lot of men judging women for their body count.
But it's a factor to men.
Oh my God. So why shouldn't it be a factor to women?
Because it's a lot harder for a man to have sex with a woman.
But why should it be different though? Like,
because as a woman, you have more control. You can go have sex with anybody at any time.
But I should have self-control to not go.
There's a thing called pair bonding. for a woman. After 5 sexual partners with a woman has in her lifetime, she has a harder time pair bonding with a man. That's a fact. And so the more men you have sex with, the harder it is, and you lower your chances of pair bonding with an adult male.
Well, that's also like saying like men watch too much porn and go fuck too many girls, and then they have an issue bonding with a real like intelligent, healthy female because they're used to all this bullshit.
But the fact is, body count matters for a man. And so you can sit there and say, you said it doesn't for the other way around, but I just told you why. So for example, and she's in the other room. She was 26 years old when I met her. She'd been with 6, 7 guys. Perfect. I met her in a small town, Tucson. Great. I didn't go to LA. I didn't go to Vegas. I didn't go to Seattle.
So what if you had met her, bless her soul, I love her. Like what if you had met her just like she is, but her body count was higher?
What's high?
What I don't know. What's high to you?
If it was over 12, I'd be like, I'm out.
Just based off the fact that she slept with 6 more people.
She brings too much baggage. She's ruined. She brings a lot of disqualifications to the table. And somebody had mentally messed her up. If she's been with that many men, there's no value for me as a man. But I have a choice. I have that choice. And so for me, it's like, you know what? That body count's too high for me. Other men, it might be 20. But I guarantee you, if you line up men and a lot of successful men, they're going to say, hey, look, I don't want a woman that's been around. That's just how we pride ourselves, because we know that you have control over of sex.
But
you control
should
access
have
to
control
sex.
too.
Right, but for most guys, they don't have sex. And so for a guy out here that's had sex with women, he's had experience. That's actually, wow, dude, you've done that? You said you don't care. You just said you don't care.
Like what I said earlier.
You don't want a male whore.
I don't want a whore, but I don't care about how many girls you've slept with.
Okay, there you go. So if I said I've been with over 100 women, and you're like, that's a lot. Well, I'm 53 years old. I've been married twice. I started having sex when I was 15 and a half. Good job, Dav. Maybe it's a good job, bad job. Do I regret some of them? Absolutely. But if you told me you had
why does that ruin a woman to have her body count be a little bit higher than what you expected?
I told you pair bonding was one of them, right? And also, she's too promiscuous. And men don't want that. They don't want a promiscuous woman.
But what if she's not promiscuous when she's with you?
To me, it matters. Look, if you've been with a lot of guys, it's like, look, I'm not even interested. And I don't want to use this analogy, but it's how do I say this without being, I'm not disrespecting you. But it's like too many people have driven that car.
Well, that's how I feel about guys too.
But you don't. You just admitted.
To an extent.
You said currently, not past tense.
Yeah, but to an extent. If you were a whore, I would not date you.
Well, of course not. And to answer his question.
And that's just because I don't want that energy in my fucking space.
To answer his question, at my age, I'm desensitized to it. I've seen so much tits and ass. Girl walks in here naked right now. It's like, I've seen it. But you get a guy in his 20s, mid-20s, that you were with, we're walking. You ever see a dog that walks in, you go to a person's house, the dog's humping the leg? That's a mid-20-year-old guy. That's an 18, 19, 20, 25, 26-year-old guy. They're full of testosterone. They're walking around humping 24/7. And then you're like, he cheated on me. Dude, he's 25 years old.
But you still shouldn't have to cheat. Just break up with your girlfriend.
He's not trying. But see, this is, I hear where you're coming from.
In my mind, it's just a little bit more, I don't want to say it's simple because I get that there's issues. I get that there's trauma. I get that you don't know how to do it. But the mere fact of like betrayal and cheating is so much deeper than just being like, oh, well, I'm a guy, I'm going to go fucking do this. And it just is what it is. There's stuff that comes with that you dump on the other person. You want to say that women come with baggage? You don't think that this baggage isn't created by sometimes them getting cheated on?
Absolutely. And men love unconditionally, women don't. Women love conditionally. Men actually take it harder than most women think in a breakup. We're the guys, a lot of men, look at the men that go to prison, look at the men that commit suicide. It's 10 times higher than women. Men suffer a lot worse in a breakup than women.
It's more, they internalize it
because
more.
we love unconditionally. Women love conditionally. If they fit the needs and they check all the boxes that they're required when they meet the guy and they stop, they love conditionally big time. Guys, for a guy to get out of a relationship and a divorce, you literally have to be screwing a person. He has to catch you. Men will stay in that relationship most of the time, and that's why you see these women leave relationships. 70% of the divorces, the women are leaving. 70%. The women leave. I'm not happy. What do you mean you're not happy? Who said marriage was about being happy? Who told you that? Have you heard the vows when you get married? There's nothing about being happy in there. It's about duty and honor. Just in a relationship, same thing. And so guys will stick around through the tough time. Women, you know what? He lost his job. He's not worth. I'm out.
See, I've never done that in my relationships. Like when you say women in general don't love unconditionally, I find that really hard to believe because yes, I've seen it, but to say that as an entire like black and white answer, I find that so hard to believe.
But for example, I don't like to look. Your business is your business. But if you said a mentally abusive relationship, you left.
Sorry,
you left a mentally abusive relationship. Maybe it got worse. Right? Conditional base. Guys will be in a mentally abusive relationship and stay in it forever.
But I did. That's what I'm saying.
But
like
you left. But you left.
After 2 fucking years of unconditionally loving someone, trying to see them through fixing their issues and helping them understand themselves as a man.
You can't fix him.
And I was there. No, I wasn't trying to fix him. I was trying to unconditionally be there for him while he did the work.
Okay.
And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
You left based on conditions.
I was broken down to the point where how long do you want me to stay?
I'm not telling you to, but men.
But how is that not unconditional?
Because men will generally stay in that relationship. Men don't leave. They'll stay in that. And they'll deal with it and accept it.
Deal with what? It was his shortcomings.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Reverse the roles.
But I guess this is also situational. This isn't speaking on like a generalized thing. And I don't know, not everyone knows exactly what you and I are talking about.
No, it's not their business.
Yeah, it's really not
their business.
But what I mean is like in a situation like that where it's becoming one-sided where, yeah, as a fiance or as a wife, it's for better or for worse, you're staying with your person trying to help them through their...
and I understand a physically abusive relationship. I get that. I'm not condoning that. Like, get the hell out.
Yeah.
I get it. Nobody deserves to get physically abused. Mental abuse is bad, too. Almost as bad, other than the bruises.
Yeah, because the emotion and the mental stuff lasts a long time.
Right. But the vows say what? Till death do you part. What's the rest of the vows?
Death to you part, better or for worse, sickness and health. Yeah, you stay. And I wasn't even married and I would stay to help this person. But there comes a point where as a woman or as a man, you have to understand that this is not good for you anymore and you have to leave. That doesn't mean that I didn't love unconditionally. Yes, there was a condition that I left under, but that doesn't mean that I didn't love him unconditionally because what, am I just supposed to stay for the rest of my life while I'm getting broken down over and over and over again? There comes a point where you have to go. But that doesn't mean that I didn't love that person unconditionally. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying is the condition is he's doing this, so you're leaving, but it's abusive. So yes, you have to go. You don't just stay. And this is where women get stuck in relationships for so fucking long. And it kills me. I have so many women come to me asking me, how do I get out? How do I do it? And they don't know how. Because they just want to help so bad and they want to love this person so much, but they're so wrapped up in it.
And men usually stay in those relationships even though they're being mentally abused.
Right. And it goes on both sides. And that's where I know people are so quick to like jump in the comments to think this needs to be a one-sided thing. This happens on both sides. There's plenty of men who are getting mentally, emotionally, and even physically abused in relationships. And they stay because they want to make it work so badly and they get broken down. This isn't like a gender thing where it's just females who get this abuse. Men do it too. And just like you said, you guys take it really fucking hard. And it does have rollover effects onto your relationships. And that's why we're walking around with a bunch of unhealed people just bleeding all over each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're finding your groove. You're finding your groove. All right. The moderator's allowed to dab up at least once.
Well,
I'm like
I do have a question, though, from John Orlando in the studio audience.
Oh, God.
Bye, John.
John.
This is for Davrick.
Dude. Really, John?
If you were with a girl that was ashamed of her body count and she lied, and then you didn't find out until 10 years later, and then the body count was 10 times higher than you thought, what would you do?
Oh.
I'd be upset that she deceived me and misled me and lied to me, but I wouldn't leave her. Because once you have that bond...
But isn't she ruined?
No, but see, you're coming into... She deceived you, so there's a trust factor. Mm-hmm. So after you can't trust somebody, how's that relationship going to work? Right? So again, men will stick around. A woman, I could say, I'm out. You lied to me. Gone. Men will stick through it. Now, I'd be really upset. There'd be a huge trust. Wait a minute, this woman lied to me 10 years ago? To get me, to catch me, right? Mm-hmm. I mean,
there's a level of deceit there that's hard to navigate through.
Yeah.
I do have a stat from Michael Sartain on the subject. He said these are the stats.
You do. Just kidding. Hi, Mike.
Michael, what's up, buddy?
That show that the more partners a woman has, the likelihood of her staying in a marriage decline. After 20 partners, there's a 17% chance she stays in a marriage. Mm-hmm. The same increases in partners has no effect on a man staying in a marriage, though, according to stats.
Fact check.
Fact check.
Fact check. No.
Okay. I do want to hit this from a perspective that I feel like both of you guys will feel very strongly on.
Uh-oh.
Lately, okay, we've been seeing a big push and promotion of plus size models in the world being shown everywhere. Victoria's Secrets is coming out with her own line. And now we do like the thick women, but is the promotion of what people would consider unhealthy models bad for our society? Which one of you guys want to start?
You're looking at me. I'll go first.
All right.
I don't care. I'll go first if you want me to.
Ladies first. No. Here's my opinion. It's very unhealthy to be overweight. We all know that. Heart conditions. People have visceral fat that sits around the main organs. I don't agree with it. Look, as an individual, everybody's beauty skin deep. I respect that. Okay. From a man's perspective, we're not attracted. I'm not saying that person's a less of a person. I don't agree with them promoting obese women or overly sized women. I think it's a bad message that's sent out to young women and people out there. But then on the flip side, someone could say, well, you know, if you're promoting a Barbie doll look type shaped body, that's bad too. But you know, she's a fitness girl. I respect that. What she does is hard. My girlfriend as well competes. But I just think that society is trying to accept something that shouldn't be accepted. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's a bad look. I think it's very bad for society. And you're seeing that overweight women are being accepted more and more because, hey, I'm overweight, I'm beautiful too. Well, it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. Americans are overweight by naturally overweight more than any country in the world. It's just not healthy. I don't like it.
I think there's a fine line because I agree that promoting obesity in a way is not healthy to create that okayness with it's just okay to be overweight. It's okay to be in a position where your health's at risk. But I also can see how it can really affect women in a way where, let's say, it's not so much anymore when like runway models, they were all stick figure 90-pound
They still are.
girls. Yeah, you know what? They still are. And people were like preaching that was the ideal image of beauty.
Right.
And you have so many girls who are trying to obtain that. Just like now it's all about this fucking surgeries and it's getting out of
the BBLs
it's out of control. And the Fashion Novas of the world and the Sheens of the world, the things that we see all these models wearing, it encourages the younger demographic of women to like be like, this is what I need to look like. So there's toxicity on that side, but there's also toxicity on not having companies show different body types because it also contributes to the level of depression of people who are like, well, I'm not this Barbie doll figure. I'm not this fitness chick. Well, what would I look like in those clothes? They don't have anybody who looks like me.
No.
So there's a healthy balance, I feel like, of promoting all shapes and sizes of people because we're all human and we're all walking this earth. But there's a lot of like, what's the word? It's like the opposite of fat shaming. It's almost like encouraging the stay how you are. This is great because that's like more like on TikTok. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't like think of like the specific videos, but they'll make it so it just seems so normal to be completely obese,
And
which
they should normalize
is
that.
not, it's not healthy.
It's not healthy.
But I am all for promoting be happy in your skin
Sure.
and, you know, embrace yourself. But
It's that
a
whole
really
it's
fine
that whole
line.
wokeism movement, in my opinion. I just think it's unhealthy. I agree with what she's saying, but then on the same side, like you said, the BBLs, the lip
It's
fillers,
out
the
of
Botox.
fucking control.
You guys are competing on yourselves on that. Guys aren't telling you to get a BBL.
Yeah. So
But here's what's tricky though is like, I agree, but there's also so much promotion in the content that men consume that are of these kinds of women.
Yep.
So it kind of like fits the narrative to like make women think like, okay, this is what's considered attractive. Yes, I think women are doing it to women for sure, but men eat that shit up. You know what I mean? Like, so it's confusing. You could tell me that that's not what's attractive, that's not what you want, but it's also a matter of opinion.
Sure.
Like,
It's being pushed to the point now where it's almost the norm.
it's a
Like you know, lip fillers. I get it. Whatever. You know, women. And again, I'm not beating up on women. You know, my girlfriend will do lip fillers. Great. You know, do some Botox. Great. I've done Botox. I'm old, right? Whatever. But I'm like, guys are like, is that a real ass? Like we're
It's to the
in
excessive
lounges or
level.
we're out. If you go into Vegas into a casino, I mean, literally fake. But now it's accepted because it's mainstream, right? We're going to be cyborgs in about 10 years. Nobody will be real.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, talk a little bit more into that, though. Now, you were saying, like, the society is pressuring us. Now, would you say more of the pressure comes from the men or women? Because my next question was going to be, who do women dress for?
I don't even think it's necessarily like which gender is doing it. I think it's like it's the media, it's the clothing companies, it's the magazines, it's the celebrities. I don't think that it's like, okay, well, women are doing all these things. Let's do it more because all the women are doing it, or like the men like it. Let's do it for that. Everything that you see in the magazines and the celebrities, we're so easily influenced by that. And so it's just like the Kim Kardashians of the world. When did that all that shit started from them? And it's just had a trickle down effect. But if you want to talk about just genders, I think women dress up for women. They dress, you know what I mean? They dress up to feel better about themselves in their circle, or in their, not even their circle, but like they go out, they want to look good. They want to be in the top, like the top tier
Upper
of their
echelon of the girls, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I know like when I go and dress up and I wear nice things, or I get my expensive hair extensions done, or I get the expensive clothes, I feel really good in it. And so I like how I feel in it, but I'm not unless I was like
80% of your followers are probably men.
Probably.
And it's because of how you're dressed.
But
but you know that. And
yeah,
so
and
if you went to an all-woman club,
I would still dress like I do.
Okay, great. But women don't do that. They go and they show off their body. They show off their physique, and they know who's looking at them as men.
I guess it's different, like for an athlete, because this is really hard for like.
You're not. I get what you're saying, but
hard work.
It's like, oh, you put makeup on for yourself and not men, right? It's like, well, go to bed with your makeup on.
No, it's not comfortable.
Okay, exactly.
But when I go out, I want to look my best
yourself,
because
right.
I like how it makes me feel.
But you know you're attracting men.
Well, I mean, I could walk out with no makeup on and I can still attract a man.
You can attract men, but you also.
So I don't want to say I do it for a man. I don't go and put mascara on and fake eyelashes for a man. This is like, I wouldn't show up today without putting myself together, right? But that wasn't for you. Wasn't for George.
Oh, you didn't do it for me.
But
you didn't do it for me. I'm offended.
You know what I mean?
I wore these overalls today.
He told me he was putting those on for you. But realistically, women know exactly. They put that dress on. They go out. They know exactly what they're doing.
But don't you feel good when you wear your best clothes? Like, doesn't that make, like, forget everybody else, forget your girlfriend, forget like your guy friends. Like, doesn't it make you feel good to dress up for yourself?
I don't need to dress up.
Doesn't it make you feel good to put on a nice pair of shoes, an expensive ass shirt, and a nice fucking watch?
Yeah, it is what it is. But when I go out, I'll wear jeans and a t-shirt. That's it. Everybody's like, you don't dress up. I don't need to dress up.
Well, no one has to,
right.
But it makes you feel fucking good, doesn't it?
Does make you feel
and
good.
A high value man, a high value woman can hold themselves to a standard where they want to look the part.
Well, then Dan Blazarian with a t-shirt and shorts.
Well, not that they have to do it. Well,
Andrew Tate with a black t-shirt.
You know, when you have fuck you money, you can do whatever you want. But if you're going out, wouldn't you like take care of yourself? Like maybe you won't. Maybe your thing isn't expensive shoes. Are you going to get your hair cut? Are you going to brush your teeth?
Right.
You're going to do things hygienically to make yourself appealing.
It's the same reason guys have nice cars. Guys don't buy nice cars because they like nice cars. They buy nice cars because women like nice cars. See, we can admit it. We know. Like if it was up to us, I'd live in a little cardboard box house and drive out, take an Uber. I don't have $100,000 cars because I necessarily need to have them, but I know women like them. I know my girl. I have this big house. See, we have to present ourselves. We're hunters. We have to go out there and say, "Oh, look what I have."
You're presenting yourself.
Right,
That's how I see myself.
But also, women attract men, and they know what they're wearing when they're out. Christine, you know that.
Sorry, say it again.
I said women attract men by what they wear and how they look when they go out.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. That just comes with it. But what I'm saying is, I don't just do that to go attract a guy to look at me.
No, but you know it's happening. That's my point.
Yeah.
24/7. It's like, oh, they're looking at me. Oh, he's looking at me. And when you walk in a room, every dude in the place looks at you. Look at that dress. Look at that ass. Look at those boobs.
And I guess it's to another level too when you're in a competitive fitness atmosphere. When normally the entire focus is on my body and my career. When you do things that you spend months and months on end every single year building your physique. To me, that's a status statement. I have a lot of self-respect for what I've done for myself. And I do like to wear things that show off my body because to me, I feel good about it. But I would do that even if I had a boyfriend, didn't have a boyfriend, had girlfriends I was trying to impress, or didn't have girlfriends I was trying to impress. I like the way I feel when I feel good in what I'm wearing and how I'm carrying myself. It isn't just for guys,
No.
you know what I mean?
No.
But I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
of course, people
Yeah.
dress up.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of girls think, like, we dress up for our girlfriends. At least that's what they say.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have one more question left in the live stream, but we are going to get to that question after our final commercial break of the evening. If I can get a shot of the live studio audience really quick. Live studio audience, how we feeling tonight? Give me some noise, live studio audience. Woo! All righty, we're going to go to commercial break, hit the last question, and it will be over. Hit that like button.
Looking good and sounding good has never been more simple. At Sticky Paws Studios, we strive to make it as easy as possible to reach your audience. Our state-of-the-art podcasting facility enables you to come in, sit down, and speak to your audience. We handle the tech. It's that simple. Visit our website or DM us on Instagram at Sticky Paws Studios. We'll see you soon.
Well, our final question of the Sticky Paws live debate. I really do appreciate everybody that's been commenting. Make sure that you smash that mother effing like button right now. We had way more viewers than I thought this would get. I really do appreciate both you guys and sharing your opinions. We've been going back and forth. The chat's popping. My final question to you, Christina. Is being a stay-at-home mom a full-time job?
I think so. I don't have kids. I can't speak from personal experience, but I have a lot of friends who are mothers, and that is a full-time job.
So if you were in a relationship, would you want to be a stay-at-home mom?
I would, but I would also still like to have my passion that brings me I don't want to necessarily say it's like my career, because I don't need it to bring me like an entire income, but I would never want to let just being a mom define me as a whole. Like, there's still parts of myself that I don't want to lose when I'm a mother. And that's just me personally. I know some people like, I just want to be a mom. That's it. That's my that's my job. That's what I do. But for me, there's parts of myself that I still want to stay Christina while I'm a mom. So for me, I would still have my podcast. I would still do my coaching. But in order to facilitate a relationship where I could be a stay-at-home mom, I'd have to be in the right relationship to enable me to do so.
Daverick?
Yes.
How do you feel about it?
It's a full-time job. I mean, and to me, it's much more admirable if a woman can do that than to be a boss bee. I mean, I think for a woman to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of the kids in the house, that's extremely difficult, and that's why a lot of women don't do it anymore. They don't want to. They want daycare to raise their kids instead of them raising their kids. And then when they get older, their kids are going to put them in daycare, right? So it's very hard for a woman in general to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. That's a hard job, but it's much more rewarding, in my opinion.
Got it. Okay. Well, that anticlimactic last question. Damn it. I was supposed to start a fight or something.
Did you
I don't
think
know.
that was not going to be an
If
agreement?
you two can both shout out your socials, we'll start with you, Christina. Where can they follow you?
Socials are at Christina.Lauren on Instagram, and then also Fearless as Fuck the podcast. You can find it on TikTok as well.
Liddy.
And on Instagram, it's at Black and White, best of both. The letter N is Nancy. And on YouTube, it's Black Ice Reality Check.
I have been your moderator for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow me at Mr. George Carmona or follow my football podcast, Gridiron Junkies. Make sure you for sure follow Sticky Paws Studios. You've seen 3 commercials tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to start your own podcast and do cool shit like this is the place to do it. I'm out. Until next time. Later. Boom. Good one.
Boom. Stay strong.
Sick.
Your podcast sucks. Sorry, I had to. Sitting on the couch with one camera and no microphones is not a good look. Trust me. That's why at Sticky Paws Studios, we made it simple as coming in and sitting down and working your magic. And we handle all the tech. Visit our website or DM us on Instagram at Sticky Paws Studios. We'll talk soon.